And Jessica's here.
You go home on Saturday, right?
What'd you say?
Hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Barely.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah.
Dang it. Can you? Oh, man. This is probably not going to be good for me. I don't have my microphone at home. I should buy another one.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
I'm not at the co-working space today.
Okay. And I think it might be your internet, too. You might be lagging a little bit.
Oh, no. You know what I should do is turn my video off. So I can't see you. But that's always super awkward because you can see me and I don't think you can, and then I pick my nose.
I don't think it's her internet. I think it's the mic. It's picking up kind of late, and then it kind of fades in. I think that's kind of what.
Oh. Yeah. So I think you said something like Saturday. Yeah, I'm coming home. Saturday, either morning or afternoon. I'm not quite sure which one.
Oh. It's nice to come home after a long trip like that.
Oh, I miss my bed. I miss my fridge, my couch, my TV. There's all these things that, you just really want. I miss my shower.
You're supposed to say my wife, my dog.
No.
Eric's here. Eric's here. What would you like, old Blogmaster? Good to see you, Mr. Blogmaster.
Mr. Statistics.
So what do you guys think? Should I stay on and do the questions, or is my audio? Are we going to get audio complaints?
Actually sounds okay right now.
Yeah.
Is it fine? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Brent, are you in?
I am.
I know you sound really well, too.
Oh.
All right. Question from Lee. Let's jump in there. He says, we have a system where the vendor went belly up. Now I am tasked with getting an ERD for the database so we can move it to a new system. What tools, free if possible, would you suggest?
Ooh.
Management Studio has it built in, the ERD, but I've always, anytime I've used the ERDs, I've always used, Irwin or whatever.
Yeah, that's technically that's not an ERD. That's just a diagram, right?
Yeah.
So an ERD is an all-encompassing tool that will have your essentially like a case tool. Did I just go in case tool? Yeah. But you could generate databases from it. You could reverse engineer it. I think Visio still could do it for free in a pinch, which I've done. But my favorite is Embarcadero ER Studio and Irwin still. They both have their plus and minuses. Both of them have the same minus, which is a very large price tag. But I have actually purchased my own copy of ER Studio because I do data design a lot, and I'm kind of crazy that way. So,
I'm going to throw something else weird out there. If the vendor went belly up, the diagramming or ERD tool is going to be the least of your worries. Holy cow, buckle up. You're going to be developing the bejesus out of that database. If you're taking it over from here on out, go buy the tool because this is your new career. This is what you're going to be working on.
Yeah, hopefully they have the source code. They're not yet reinventing the wheel here.
Wow. Oh, that would suck.
Yeah, what happens when vendors just die like that? They're just like, oh, sorry, customer, you can have the product, but we're not iterating on it. We're done.
That was my life in 2000 to 2001. We had a help desk product where the vendor was like, yeah, no, we're not doing this anymore. And I had to build a new web front end to their existing database and gradually change things over. That was 2 years of my life that I would really like back. And the hilarious part is the company that I worked for then still uses that crappy web help desk that I built because they lost the source code after I left. I was like, okay, you suck.
Oh, boy. All right. James says, I have an SP that has 53 queries in it. What is the best way to approach troubleshooting the slow query?
Capture the execution plan.
Execution plan, set statistics IO.
And then use it. You can in SQL Sentry Plan Explorer. It makes it really easy to see which statement in the store procedure takes up the most percentage of work.
Hey, Eric, move your mic towards your face.
I can't see it.
Yeah.
How's that?
Oh, yeah, that's better.
Oui bien.
Yeah.
I'm constantly fighting the gain and the mic distance to not have too much background noise. And still
yeah.
Damn kids outside.
Yeah, kids. Yeah. So the other thing you could do if you want to play with it is take it over to development, like restore a copy of the production database, blow your plan cache, run dbcc free proc cache. I emphasize you're going to do this in development. You're not going to do it in production. And then immediately after you free the plan cache, run the query and you use SP Blitz cache. SP Blitz cache will show you which lines in the stored procedure do the most reads, CPU, runtime, whatever.
Mm-hmm. All right.
That's a crappy shotgun, but.
Question from Tom Towns. I haven't gotten this one. It says, is it necessary or advisable to rebuild indexes / stats when downgrading compatibility level on a database but staying on the same version of SQL Server? He's running SQL Server 2014.
No, not necessarily, but you should be doing regular maintenance on your databases anyway.
Oh, man.
That's such a good question because it comes from the history of like when you went up with SQL Server, there was a lot of advice around you should update your stats. And I don't think, for a while there, we were trying to find the root of that, like where that advice came from.
Yeah, like my best guess on that is that there are slight tweaks and, twinges to the cardinality estimator, and that, when you update versions, that doesn't necessarily kick in to, that doesn't necessarily kick in just by restoring the database. So updating the stats just kind of helps push things to the whatever new level that, or whatever new ideas the cardinality estimator has for your data.
Let's see here. You guys are quiet today. In terms of certifications, would we ever think about giving our own Brent Ozar stamp of approval? I know we give out those certificates of completion with our funny little cartoons on there. But Brent, we've never actually thought about giving our own certification course, classes, all those things.
It would really just consist of, can you write us a check for $200? Yes. You are a member of a very prestigious club. No, I think I bet if we all got together and focused, we could probably put together a test that would do it. The problem is it's really expensive. It takes a lot of time to do it because you got to do it in a way. I was part of the team that helped build the Microsoft Certified Master, the next version that never ended up going public. And I learned so much from Microsoft around that process where the questions have to be legally defensible. They can't be biased towards English-speaking people. They can't have cultural issues, like you can't take in certain business knowledge or assume certain cultural knowledge. It needs to be a fair playing field for anybody who touches SQL Server. That's really hard. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of respect for people who write certification exams, but I agree with you. It's the Microsoft ones suck pretty bad. Richie and I talked about that on the After Away from the Keyboard podcast, too.
Yeah, on the Away from the Keyboard. Yeah, I think the name of the episode was Brent Ozar loses his MVP.
Yeah. I trash talked the bejesus out of the Microsoft certs in that. But yeah,
and yet he got renewed.
Yeah,
he's trying, people. I don't understand.
Oh, we don't even have tests in our classes. What we end up doing is we have group discussions. So I'll give you a homework assignment, and everybody works together at the same time. Like some of the assignments you do by yourself, some of them you do in groups. But even that, just the discussions of people saying afterwards, I think this answer is right, I think this answer is right, can take hours. So it's pretty tricky.
Yeah. Let's see here. Steve. Let's move on to Steve. He says, we are being given a virtual server to install SQL 2014. Now, which would be better? Install one instance of SQL with all of our databases, or several instances of SQL Server with fewer databases on each instance?
We're all trying to be polite, I think.
Is this all for one box? If it's one box, we don't recommend stacking instances. One instance per box.
And why don't we recommend stacking instances?
I mean, you have to determine max memory settings for them, and you might configure it not optimal for one instance. Another instance might need more memory, and you might be playing that game and just fighting for resources. But how many databases are we talking about? Are we talking about just 40 or 50? Are they all critical? Are they all non-critical? Can you have another virtual server where you can put some databases on that one and other databases on the other?
Yeah, a lot of what I think. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
You know, a lot of what I would use to sort of dictate where I'm going to put things is RPO and RTO. So if you have a group of databases that all have, 24/7 uptime, or some higher level requirements, and say, like bug tracking or help desk, or something along those lines, stuff that you can put off to stuff that really needs high availability, stuff that needs better backups, and things like that, things that need more horsepower behind them. I would put those on a server, or servers, where I'm going to be able to pay special attention to them. And then I would put sort of the less needy stuff on other servers that I can sort of stick in a corner and forget about, and not worry about performance, and not worry about, any performance from one stepping on the toes of another.
All right. Question from Tess Hale. She or he says, key lookup still showing after the column was added and a covered index. Is there anything I could do to avoid the key lookup?
So we've seen this with a few. You want to look a little deeper in the execution plan. Sometimes there's something called a residual predicate, where there's other fields that are being looked up, not just the key. So when you hover your mouse over the key lookup, look for two things: the predicate and the output, because maybe SQL Server is seeking for some other kinds of fields, or it's outputting other kinds of fields. If there is no predicate and no output, use SQL Sentry Plan Explorer and then anonymize that plan and post it online, because there are known issues. I've seen them where I can't get rid of the lookup, and sometimes there's gurus on there like Paul White who can take a look at the plan and go, oh, of course, it's this hidden bug right here, or whatever.
Yeah, that happened to me sort of recently when I was having a client get computed columns together for a table, and for some reason we added the computed columns. We started referencing the computed columns, but in the execution plan, there was still a key lookup for all of the columns that made the computed column work, right? So like we had 5 or 6 columns that added up, made a computed column. We added the computed column to the included columns of the index, but it still wanted all of the columns that made up the computed column for some reason. That was a very weird day.
Lots of computed columns in that.
What did you do to fix it?
Added the columns it was asking for in the output clause, and then the key lookup went away. It was very weird though. It was something that I tried to reproduce on 2012 and 2014, and I couldn't get it to happen. So
he stared at it, and then he just
intimidated it.
Just
Flexed.
Database corruption. We haven't talked about that.
Ooh.
That's always fun.
It is fun. It is actually fun.
Is it? It reminds me.
In demos.
Now I'm thinking about that song by the Beastie Boys.
Sabotage?
Yeah, that's the one. Let's see. It's from Garrett. He says, what is the best way to learn about how to resolve database corruption with zero data loss?
Steve Stedman Database Corruption Challenge. If you search for Steve Stedman, and it's just STEDMAN, Database Corruption Challenge, he had 10 weeks of challenges with different sample databases that were corrupt. You would go download them and you would figure out how to fix them. And the quizzes are kind of two-part. You get the download the sample database, and then you go try to figure out how to recover as much data as you can with zero data loss. Then you go read how other people did it. So they share their answers and show how fast they were able to get the data back.
Get real comfortable with some weird DBCC commands.
Yeah, God. Oh, forcing query hints to get data from some indexes and not others. Oh, it is awesome. Even if you don't do it, just reading how hard it is awesome.
Oh, you know what always gets me is when you have to find binary, but it's byte reversed. So there's stuff with DBCC right page, and forget it.
Screw that.
Count me out.
Screw that.
Count me way out. Call someone else.
It's really.
All of you? You've all dealt with this before? Database with corruption?
I've never dealt with it in real
Never?
life.
Oh my God.
No. I've
done it 2 or 3 times. Do I like it? No. It was probably about 5 years ago. I was at the on-call DBA. The 2 DBAs got woken up, and This was on a weekend, and by 7 in the morning, they just, you hadn't slept yet. They couldn't even think clearly at this point. So that's when they called me to take over for the next several hours. And, you know, we ended up having to restore the database, and we had data loss, and it was all due to the SAN. You had some SAN hardware issues. It was bad. It was really bad.
And it's one of those where you can go your whole career and never see it, but then if you have storage that isn't bulletproof reliable, or if you have a sysadmin team that like screws around and, you know, cuts a few corners, then you spend years of your life dealing with that.
All right. Question from Mandy. She says, "Hi. We upgraded from 2014 Standard Edition on new hardware a couple months ago, but left our databases in 2012 compatibility mode. A few weeks ago, we upped the compatibility mode to 2014, and afterwards had such major contention and blocking problems, we had to change it back to 2012 after about 30 minutes. Is this common? What can we look for in our database to resolve this?"
It would be more common if more people were upgrading. Everyone's still on 2008 R2s.
So is that the cardinality estimator probably doing that?
Yeah, sounds like that kicking in.
Is there a different way to turn it off and you know, still have your compatibility level be, you know, 2014?
So this is tricky.
Trace
so you can
flags.
turn off with trace flags, yeah, and you can turn off at the query level. But Mandy, you were bang on you're perfect to wait a couple of weeks. That's exactly what you want to do. Then you want to flip it on a weekend, like on a Saturday morning. Let it go for just like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But as soon as you can, run SP Blitz Cache and gather the most CPU-intensive query plans, most read-intensive query plans, and the longest-running query plans with CPU Blitz Cache. You got to save those plans out to files and then switch back to 2012 compatibility mode so that you're back on the old CE. Then you take the next week or two troubleshooting these query plans to figure out what is it about these queries that sucked under the new cardinality estimator. So often people just test their worst queries with the new 2014 CE, not understanding you need to test all of the queries because the ones that used to be awesome can suddenly start sucking with the new CE.
Or in a couple months, just upgrade to 2016 and use the query data store, and then just bang that right off. Done.
And so what's the query data store?
It's this neat thing. Described as a black box for a SQL Server, and what it does is it basically logs all your queries, and it's a good way to you know, if for cases like you where you had good query plans that were working, and then all of a sudden something changed and you had bad query plans. So it gives you a way to look at and find regressions in query plans, and then force the query plan that was working before, so that SQL uses that one rather than trying to mess around and use a new one. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck like you are on 2014, where you could switch to the new cardinality estimator, but then you'd have to use some trace flags on specific queries to force the old cardinality estimator, which is not fun. And I don't recall those trace flags off the top of my head, and I never do.
Database flight recorder for queries. Is that about right? Query.
Yeah, listen, getting on the cockpit catches people doing things they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. Pilots having a drinking contest.
Let's see. Question while we're on the topic of cardinality estimator. Question from Nate. We may have answered this. Speaking of the new CE for 2014, does it automatically get used for everything, or only for the DBs in the 2014 compatibility level, or is it off by default and it's up to the DBA to turn it on at their discretion?
For indiscretion. Yeah, it's whenever you change if you're upgrading a SQL Server or if you're attaching databases to a 2014 SQL Server, the new cardinality estimator doesn't get used by default. It does get used if you create new databases and they're in the 2014 compat mode. So yeah, it's totally okay to leave your databases in the old compat mode. You can leave them there as long as you want. There's no gotchas with that. Totally okay, totally supported.
What if it's in a 2005 compatibility mode?
What's the oldest one that's supported? I think it's 2008 for 2014.
I just looked yesterday because the client had a question, and 2014 does have the 2005 compatibility level in the list. I was surprised.
That's so nice of them.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
So generous.
Yeah. Question from Robert. He says, optimize for query workloads instant setting. Good to turn on by default, or only when mad ad hoc queries are frequent.
So this is tricky. So you'll read a lot of advice out there like you should turn it on by default because it doesn't have a drawback. I'm kind of like if I see that, it doesn't bother me. It just doesn't usually help people unless they truly have a BI environment where every query that comes out is a unique, delicate snowflower. Have any of you guys ever seen problems with Optimize for Ad Hoc?
Problems? No.
Yeah.
No, I've never seen problems. Every once in a while you'll see someone with 80 or 90% of their plan caches, of their 5-6 gig plan caches, single-use queries, and at that point, that's not really an efficient use of the memory or what you're storing in the plan cache.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Question from Nate. We're still on compatibility mode questions. Last one. Is there anything wrong with leaving all DBs in lower compat levels when you do a SQL Server migration, say to 2014? Like leave all the DBs at 2005 or 2008 R2 compatibility levels and then start upping them later when we have breathing room?
No.
You don't get the new features.
Yeah. Totally okay. Totally okay.
And eventually, you're going to have to up them, because you're going to be upgrading, and you can't go down to that level. I imagine that 2016 doesn't go down to 2005.
Yeah, I mean, just doing that before you up the compatibility level, just to make sure that you check, any new, any of the, Microsoft's broken features and deprecated stuff, and new reserved keywords, because if your old databases are, using keywords that have now become reserved, stuff could break pretty easily.
Let's see. James is getting sick of our same old training videos on our website. He is wondering, when will we be adding more videos to the training library? If so, what, when, how?
As soon as you pay us to make them.
Doug is doing a new one on advanced querying and indexing. It is has a game show theme back from a 70s game show. We're aiming to have that one online in June. To give you a rough idea, it takes about 3 months worth of work to do a 6-hour class to the level of Doug's videos. So if you've watched T-SQL Level Up, it's phenomenal production value. It takes 3 months worth of work to do a 6-hour video. For my level of production values, where it's a guy talking in front of a green screen, it's usually about a month. So I'm working on performance tuning when you can't fix the queries. That one will be out probably in June or July, somewhere in there. The trick with that is the everything bundle price will go up at that time. So if you're interested in getting an everything bundle, I would do that this month. It will include any videos that we add during the course of your 18-month ownership. So this month, the everything bundle's on sale even further to half off, now down to just $4.49 for 18 months to access to all of our videos. But that's a 1-month only sale to celebrate our 5th year anniversary. After that, you are right back up to $8.99.
And then what's it going to go up to?
Depends. I think it's going to, if we have 2 more $2.99 videos, I wouldn't be surprised if we pushed it to $9.99.
Go on up.
$9.99? That's still a deal.
Richie says it, his salesperson voice.
All right. Question from Justin. Hello, Justin. He says SP Blitz Index isn't recommending new indexes on a table where I deleted all of the indexes and ran a replay trace against. But SSMS is recommending some, and so is a third-party software. Any idea what would cause this?
So I bet you're running the brand new version of SP Blitz, version 3, or Blitz Index, that just came out, where we ignore crappy little tables that don't really have that much of a difference in terms of performance. If you want the crappy little tables version, you can run the older version of SP Blitz Index, which is included in the download pack, or use it with mode equals 4, which does the fine-grained analysis that we used to do. Just know that you're probably not going to have that much of a performance improvement, not if they're tiny little tables, tiny little indexes.
Okay. So yeah, he says that he's using a new one. Brent, or anyone, has anyone here heard of DH2I, Index Enterprise Contain HA solution, and what is your opinion? Have you heard of that? It's from...
I have heard of it. I don't know anybody using it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have either. I have this whole thing where if I'm going to install software that's supposed to make my stuff more highly available, my whole team better know how to use it, and it better be like really well tested. Like I need to be able to talk to other people and get training on how it works. So I would just talk to other people who use it and ask for, hey, can you give me a rundown of what issues you've had over the last 12 months, and make sure that they're a similarly sized customer to you. Like if you've got 100 servers, the person you talk to should have 100 servers.
And what I find helpful is that a lot of vendors like this will have help forums. So what I like to do is just read through the help forums and see what kind of problems people are facing, and kind of common questions, and see if there's any answers there that kind of help me figure out if this is right for me.
Mm-hmm. And any of the help forums, have you ever seen like people giving feedback like, do not buy this product, this is terrible?
I mean, you see some questions that are like, X product stopped working, and this broke, and this stopped working, and had major outage, and what do I do? And
you look at the time lag between answers, like how long it takes to get it fixed.
And then like no actual company support people are chiming in. That's all other users being like, had the same problem.
I just don't know if I'd want to use a product that isn't widely used, in the industry. Do you want to be the first customer using this product or the first 5? I want to use the products everyone else is using.
Yeah, we are doing some upgrades to our CRM right now, and there's the little things I want to change to make it work, and the engineer is sending me like basically these forums of people that are like, I really want this feature, it's never going to be turned on, this piece doesn't work, and then like, this is from 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
It's utter silence.
He's like, I don't
There's also there's a follow-up question from someone that says, oh, so-and-so did an online session on that. Just know that often consultants who are paid by vendors will do sessions going, hey, this tool is amazing, and I'd be glad to help you install it. They are selling the software, and they are selling their consulting. To look at it just the same way that you would an infomercial, I would ask to talk to the customers using it, not to the people that you're going to pay money to.
Have we done that? Has anybody ever come up with us with a product like, hey, can you do a webcast on the product?
Oh, all the time. And I'll be like, so here's how, because we do Webcast too for like Quest and Idera and all this. I'm like, I'm going to talk about the native way of doing it, like the pain points of how you do it without software. Then if you want to talk about how your software does it, that's totally cool. I can't talk about your software because I don't use it. I just have to jump from one client to another. Every now and then people will say, here's a bucket of money. How much of this bucket would you like in order to say our product is awesome? And I'm like, none. I only have one reputation. It's what happens if the product sucks butt wind. I will do a review privately. If you want us to go through and spend 3 or 4 days hammering on your software and see how it works, we'd be glad to do it and then give you a private review. But I'm not going to go public and say that it's awesome when it's, smells like venue.
Eric and I will do it. That's not a problem.
Yeah, totally. Yes. My reputation stinks anyway.
Did you see his rep on Stack Overflow? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. My cloud score is like negative something. I don't know. Head buckets.
All right. Let's see. Just for fun. If you run out of things to answer, this is really open-ended. What is your ideal HA and DR solution for a SQL Server environment with 5 to 10 instances? I don't know. That depends. It's not fair.
Ooh, we should each answer that. All right, Tara, what's your ideal for 5 to 10 instances? And say you've got 1 DBA.
Ooh.
See, I don't know how to answer that. I've never worked in an environment where I was the only DBA. I've always worked in an environment where there was probably 3 to 8 DBAs. So availability groups is my answer for almost everything. You say HA, I say availability groups. I know you guys don't like that, but that's what we've implemented. We had large DBA teams. We had large server teams that understood Windows clustering and all that stuff, and it works well if you have the people that know the clustering, all the features.
Tara doesn't get out of bed for less than $10,000. Eric, how about you?
For me, if you just have 1 to 2 DBAs, but you may have some other support staff, I would say a failover clustering and then something like either async mirroring or log shipping is usually pretty pretty decent for most teams. That's pretty manageable for most people, who don't have the, DBAs with the football jerseys on and, the schedules and the, how to tackle cards on everything.
Yeah, how about you, Richie?
So from a developer perspective, because I joined this team and all of a sudden I have a developer perspective. Amazing. I love that. It's at Azure SQL Database, right? I mean,
you're cheating. I love it.
It's all kind of baked in there,
so
and I don't have
good.
to think about it, and I don't have to, a lot of it's done for me. So as a developer, I'm going to do the laziest, simplest way out. That would be it.
Man, you win points on that. That's genius. That is pretty freaking smart. So I would probably, assuming that they're not mission critical, if they're stuff that I could stand some downtime on, I actually would probably go with just plain old VMware. I would just make them as single instances in virtualization, and then that way do something like log shipping for disaster recovery or VMware replication. Now, this is not high availability. It's just availability. It's just the A. But so if you caught me down to just like 5 SQL Server instances and no DBA, or like one DBA who's kind of winging it and spending most of his time on free webcasts, then I kind of like that. But if not, I'm still kind of a decent fan of async mirroring too. Async mirroring is not bad.
Much less of an albatross than its sync brother.
Yeah, that thing blows.
Cool.
I'll say one thing though, not replication.
Yeah.
So many people using replication out there.
No, replication is mostly okay, but not as an HA or DR feature.
They're using it for the wrong thing.
It's really a reporting feature.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny to see too, like all of us end up having these different answers, and this ends up being what our chat room is like. So in the company chat room, like we all have access to everybody else's files, we know what everybody's working on, and somebody will be like, hey, I'm working with this client, and here's what they look like, and here's what their staff's strengths and challenges are, and it's really fun to bounce ideas off people and see what everybody comes up with.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, guys, it's that time.
Calling it an episode.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thanks everybody for hanging out with us, and we will see you next week.